Good evening and welcome to York School District 1's Montessori Orientation. Our purpose this evening is to provide general information on the Montessori program and to explain the lottery process used in the selection of students. My name is Jane Wallace and I am the principal at Hunter Street. Although the Montessori program is a district program, the classes are housed at Hunter Street Elementary. So I will be your host for this evening's presentation. Let's get started. First, a little general information. Montessori is a program of choice for any student in York School District 1. In other words, you do not have to live in Hunter Street's zone in order to attend the Montessori program. Our classes are multi-aged. They each have 3, 4, and 5-year-olds in the same classroom, and they work and learn together. The 5-year-old year is considered the same as the kindergarten year in a traditional setting. Students will cover the 5K state standards and will be able to move on to first grade in their home school the following year. Because of the high demand for slots, there is a lottery for enrollment. Each year we have 5 openings per class for 4-year-olds, and since we have 2 classes, that means we have 10 4-year-old slots, and each year we also have 10 3-year-old slots. As you're thinking through Montessori, don't choose it just because you're looking for something different. Please choose it because you as a parent believe in the educational approach. To explain a little bit more about what the Montessori class is like on a day-to-day basis, we have our teachers, Ms. Molly Baker and Ms. Linda Mulligan, who will explain a little more about that.
I'm Molly Baker, and I teach one of the Montessori classes here at Hunter Street Elementary School, and this is my 14th year in the Montessori classroom.
And I'm Linda Mulligan, and I teach one of the Montessori classes at Hunter Street. And I've been working in the Montessori program since 2000.
All right, so who was Maria Montessori? Why do we call this a Montessori classroom? It's named after Maria Montessori, who was from Italy. She was the first female physician in Italy, but she is more famous for the schools that she started. She studied children and how they learned best, and then designed both the school and the materials to help them learn. One of the most basic principles of our classroom is what we call the peaceful classroom, and that doesn't mean that everybody's quiet all the time, but it means that everybody is working for the most part on task, focused. Now, of course, that looks different this time of the year than it does in August and September, but we gradually teach the children how to independently complete their work and focus on their activities. You'll usually hear classical music playing in the background, and you'll see a variety of children doing a variety of lessons, but in an organized, structured way. Our classroom has 6 areas. The sensorial area is where they use their senses to complete lessons. In math, they'll work on things from basic number and counting skills all the way up to place value, counting to 1,000, addition and subtraction, pretty much limitless in what we can do in here with this age children. Practical life is where they practice practical life skills. They'll use a spoon to move materials left to right, or a tong to tong materials from left to right. They'll learn to zip and tie and button, and all of these things to help them accomplish tasks that they do every day. In our language area, they'll work on very basic language skills, what we call pre-language, like matching and sorting, and then again work all the way up through the letter sounds and names and begin reading and writing. Science, we have different units that we do throughout the year that may be life cycles, it may be a study of rocks. We have a botany cabinet that is specific to the Montessori classroom that they love and that stays out all year. And in geography, we do a unit of study on each of the 7 continents throughout the year, after first doing an overview of the world at the beginning of the year. This is a picture of a child doing a lesson from the sensorial area. This is called the thermal tablets, and she is using her sense of touch to match these tablets. She's weighing them, she'll feel them, and then she'll match them on her mat. They don't have to use the blindfold to complete the lesson. They can close their eyes and do it, or they can use their eyes, use their sense of sight as well to help match. And this is a math lesson. This is from our bead cabinet. And these, this is our 9 chain. We have 10 bead chains from 1 to 10. And this one, right now, this child is practicing linear counting. But each number card, also counts by 9s because it's the 9 chain. So this is 9, 18, 27, 36. So for a more advanced student, you could even begin doing multiplication. And we have done that some years. These children are working on a painting lesson, or the one on the left is working on a painting lesson from the art area, which is also in practical life, and the child on the right is working on a polishing lesson, which is in the practical life area as well. So they have a lot of opportunities to practice a lot of different skills to develop both their creativity and their fine motor practice.
Okay, this student is working on the sandpaper letters. We use sandpaper letters to introduce the letter sounds. They learn the formation of the letters as they trace them, and they're also introduced to the sounds. We match objects to the letters as well to give them the practice. Once they have mastered letter sounds, we show them how to put them together to form simple words. And as they progress, they're learning how to do more difficult words as well as putting them together to form sentences and stories. This child is working on their journal work, and they use the movable alphabet to form their letters and words, and then they transfer their information into their journal. This child is working on a lesson from the science area from our botany cabinet, and she's working on putting together the parts of a leaf. Okay. This child is working on one of the first lessons in geography. They are sorting animals according to where they move, either in the water, air, or on the land. And we use that in the beginning when we're introducing our globe. And as we mentioned earlier, then we also use the large continent puzzles. And we do studies of each continent throughout the year to learn more about the continents and different places in our world. So there's learning cultural geography and physical geography as well.
Thank you, Ms. Mulliken and Ms. Baker. Now let's move along with some information you as a parent may need if you would like to register your child for the Montessori lottery. So the first question you really need to ask yourself is Montessori right for the family? And yes, I said the entire family. It's not just your child that needs to be right, but the family also needs to believe in the process. First of all, is your child an independent worker? That is a major part of the Montessori program. Students need to be self-motivated and able to work without being prompted for every little thing. You need to be able to encourage your child to make choices and take responsibility at home. It's very helpful to us and to you if there's a consistency between home and school. In the Montessori program, children have to make choices about every activity they do, when they do it, and that sort of thing. So having those same responsibilities at home really help out. Do you support the Montessori belief in fostering children's self-reliance, responsibility, and independence? This is a big one. Children need to learn to be independent learners, so that is a big part of the Montessori program. The approach to discipline in the Montessori classes is a little different. It's based upon natural and logical consequences. They don't rely heavily on reward and punishment. So that's going to look very different. So again, is that the right thing for your child and your family? And do you believe truly that your child would benefit from having those responsibilities of choosing appropriate learning activities and materials? And are you prepared to learn more about Montessori principles at home and at school so that there is that consistency from home to school that makes the experience much more meaningful? So as I mentioned, because of the demand for slots, we do have to hold a lottery each year. We have 10 4-year-old slots and 10 3-year-old slots. So if you are interested, what does the lottery look like and how do you enter? Let's talk a little bit about just generally what does that lottery look like. So students who have a completed registration form and the accompanying documentation will be placed in the lottery. This year, because of our different situation, registration forms and the submission of those documents may be completed completely online. We'll be providing information for you about how to do that. Or you may request paper copies at the school level, and we'll make arrangements for you to be able to pick those up if needed. But of course, our preference is the online part. Once students have completed all the necessary paperwork, there will be a date set for the lottery. During that lottery drawing, we will have district personnel and school administration present to make sure everything is done according to the specific protocols. Once we have our 20 slots filled, we'll continue to draw every single name out in the lottery and we'll place them on the waiting list according to how they were drawn. And then later on in this month, parents will receive a letter indicating whether the child was selected into the program, or if not, the fact that they're on the waiting list and what position they hold. For example, Jane is on the waiting list for the 3-year-olds and she is slot number 14. So with a 4-year-old, because we have different 4-year-old programs available, if your child doesn't make the Montessori lottery, then you may possibly have another alternative for the school year. If a 4-year-old's not selected in our Montessori lottery, then you might be able to enroll your child in our CERDEP 4K. But the child has to meet certain requirements, and we'll talk about that a little later in the presentation. Students who make the waiting list this year will be selected in order as a slot becomes available. But please note that the waiting list is only good for 1 year. Children on the 3-year-old waiting list are not automatically placed to the 4-year-old waiting list the following school year. You must enter the lottery from year to year. So that's how the lottery looks. What do you need in order to enter the lottery? So first of all, you must have a state birth certificate for your child. And this is how we do that proof of age for the state. And this needs to be an official birth certificate and not that hospital or mother's copy. We need to have a valid picture ID for the child's legal parent or guardian. That way we're sure that you are the one that's supposed to be registering the child for school. And we need a valid proof of residency. That's just to ensure that you live inside York School District 1. There's many ways to show your proof of residency. You can provide a copy of a property tax bill. Now, this is not for a vehicle. This is for real property. You may provide a cable bill, a power bill, a water or a gas bill. If you rent your home or your apartment, then a copy of a rental agreement will suffice as proof of residency as long as your name and that address is showing. If you happen to live with someone, then there is another form that you might need. If that is the case, then you would need to call the school and we would be glad to help you walk through showing your proof of residency. Now there's some strict deadlines. Again, we have many slots requested and only a few available. So let's talk about state deadlines and district deadlines. Along the state deadline, your student must be 3 or 4 on or before September the 1st. And that is the state age requirement deadline. So if your child is 3 years old on September the 1st or before then they can enroll in the 3-year-old program. If your child is 4 years old on or before September 1, then they can enroll in the 4-year-old program. Now, what if my child's birthday is on September the 2nd? That causes a little issue. So if the child will not be 3 until September 2nd, then they would not be eligible to enroll for the 3-year-old program. If your child will be 4 on September the 2nd, then unfortunately they will have to enroll for the 3-year program and not the 4-year-old program. So I hope I haven't confused you with that, but just remember your child must be of age on or before September 1st. The registration lottery begins today, February the 11th at 6 p.m. The online forms will unlock at that time and you'll be able to fill out and upload documents. And the process ends promptly February 18th at 4 p.m. After 4 o'clock on the 18th, you will no longer be able to access the documents. Both the lottery registration form and the required documentation we talked about earlier must be submitted before the lottery entry is considered complete. So if you just fill out the basic information and don't provide the forms, then your child's name will not be added to the lottery. So please be sure all those things are provided for us. Again, registration and documentation must be received no later than Thursday, February the 18th at 4 p.m. Very sorry, but we cannot make exceptions to that deadline. Now, some things to consider as you think about the Montessori program. First of all, please do not mistake this as a replacement for daycare. This is very much a learning environment with some structure, but it is not just daycare, so don't have that kind of perspective of it. Attendance is very important. Your 3 and 4-year-olds could forfeit the spot if attendance becomes a problem, so we expect 3s and 4s to be present at school every day. Your students need to be fully potty trained by the first day of school, the 21-22 school year. And when we say potty trained, we mean not with pull-ups, but they are potty trained. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old can have an accident. That's not what we're talking about, but they need to be potty trained. If your child is selected as a 3-year-old, we expect that Montessori is a 3-year commitment for you. That child is in the Montessori classroom for 3 straight years and receives the greatest benefit from that. Note that our 3-year-olds are only here for half a day, though. It's from 7:45 to 10:30. If your child is selected newly as a 4-year-old, then consider Montessori a 2-year commitment. Also note that our 4-year-olds attend school for the full day. And again, your 5-year-olds are taught the same academic standards as traditional kindergarten and will go to 1st grade the following year at their school of residence. At this time, we're able to provide bus transportation for both our 4 and 5-year-old students in Montessori, regardless of their home school. Because Montessori is a district program, we would be able to provide bus transportation. Unfortunately, 3-year-olds may not ride the bus at this time. So if your child is enrolled as a 3-year-old Montessori student, they may not ride the school bus and you would have to provide their transportation. Students who are in the Montessori program need to be self-motivated and self-disciplined. And this last bullet is as much for you as it is your child. If your child is selected and this is going to be the first time they're separating from you during the day, ease into that transition, before the first day of school. There are lots of tears the first day of school, and not all of them are from the kids. Sometimes it's from the parents. Let me finish off by saying that there is no one setting that is right for every single child. Montessori provides a different approach to education, and you want to be sure that it is right for your child. If it is not right for your child, that is not a bad thing. Some children prosper better in a teacher-directed program rather than a self-directed program. Think about your child, his habits. Think about you and your beliefs surrounding school and learning, and make a decision from there. If you have questions about that or want to talk with us, we'll be certainly glad to answer those questions if we can. Finally, for more information, you can visit our website, www.york.k12.sc.us/Montessori, for more information. On that website, you will find links to books, videos, and articles concerning Montessori education, and a frequently asked questions document where we try to anticipate some questions you may have. If you would like to talk directly with me, I can be reached at Hunter Street at 803-684-1926. And thank you for joining us.